Hey, I'm back here with your disability rep, Roy Rickstrew. Roy, good to see you again.
Likewise, Tom.
What I'm also really happy to see, you don't see this kind of sentence up there too often.
No.
Claimant-friendly changes ahead.
That's correct. This is probably a once-in-a-generation change at Social Security. Most federal and state programs are pretty rigid. For example, our Medicaid program is from 1973, and it's pretty well stuck in the mud.
Yes.
Some aspects of Social Security go back decades.
So this can prove maybe the government can get unstuck every now and then?
Perhaps.
That's good.
So anytime that there's a proposal to a federal program, a change to a federal program, Social Security goes through and publishes that in a federal register.
Okay.
And it comes out every so often. It's enormous, lists all the changes the government's planning to make. It gives a comment period to interested readers. They can ask questions that the government then takes those response comments and those questions into consideration when they issue the final rule.
Is that where we are right now?
That is.
Okay.
So our slide here says that the final rule on this was expected sometime this fall. Since we put the slides together last week, it's actually been issued. So this change is going to take effect the 1st of June.
That's very soon.
June 8th. That is very soon.
All right.
And so what the change looks like is they're going to take the look-back period for what constitutes our past work. In other words, what type of work we've done that has job skills we can then use to do something new. They're going to reduce that look-back from 15 years back to 5 years.
Okay. How are people affected? I can kind of think of some ways, but how is that going to work then?
Right, so they're looking for work that we've done at a substantial and gainful level, things that we did long enough that we learned at the job. But the important thing with them changing the look back is that when they look to see what job skills you have, we're going to narrow that approach. So if you were a receptionist 10 years ago, for example, but you've been doing home health care since, when Social Security looks for your job skills, they're going to see 5 years of home health care, and they're not going to be able to say, look, you know how to do desk work, you can go back to desk work.
Oh, so that really is a benefit when you're changing that time scope. All right.
Right.
Okay.
And this is in response to changes in the labor market, changes in the way that jobs are actually done.
Right. Well, I mean, simply put, just because I knew how to operate computer systems 15 years ago, they're not the same animal anymore.
Well, that's right. And just a couple examples here, computer programming, for example, has changed tremendously in the last 15 years. Mechanics as well. There's a lot of software updates, a lot of computer interaction. Our cars are heavy on technology when 15 years ago they weren't.
Yeah.
And so that mechanic's got to have a different skill set.
And they're not all internal combustion anymore.
Right. And, drafting is another thing, machinist is another thing, very heavy on the computer technology aspect. Same thing with nursing. A lot of the medical procedures and the aftercare has changed considerably in 15 years.
Yeah.
Just because you had that skill set doesn't mean it's still applicable to today's market, today's labor market.
Of course, you're not getting the same kind of care. The standards have risen, the knowledge has risen, has changed.
Right. And you just think about folks that have suffered from prostate cancer. The treatment has changed substantially.
Yes.
So has the aftercare. We also think about increase in mammograms, for example.
Yes.
And ultrasound technology, considerably different than they were 15 years ago.
Yes.
And so the nursing staff has to have a different skill set.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic change. It's a very pro-client change. It will likely result in the approval of more people, which is why it's really important. If Social Security has told you to go back to your old job, you really need to give us a call here at Your Disability Rep.
Oh, okay. That's one where you can kind of go through it. See, this seems like a huge change. I'm sure there's probably going to be, wide-ranging effects by this change.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. This is a very pro-client change. It's very unique for Social Security. It's really important that you get your claim filed as soon as possible, and in my opinion, with assistance, because when this change takes effect in June, you want to have this well-prepared, well-documented. You want to strike while the iron's hot, and right now the iron's hot.
Be on top of it. Don't try to play catch-up.
Exactly.
All right, there's the QR code, of course. Talk to Roy, 812-6698, and he'll be there to help you out.